This Twisted History is sponsored by BetterHelp. Rediscover your curiosity with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/twisted today and get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/twisted. And therapy is a great way to bring yourself some comfort that never goes away, even when the season changes. We get a lot of feedback from people who try some of the products that we hawk on this show. And everyone who had said that they had used BetterHelp either for themselves or for a family member, particularly their kids, have all raved about it. So this isn't one of those things where we just kind of put up. This is one of those things where I think it actually helps. So if you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited for your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire and get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Find comfort this December with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/twisted today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/twisted. Hey, everybody, we're back. It's myself, it's St. Anne, it's Vibs, and it's John. So as far as this podcast is concerned, this is the core four. This is the core four. Nobody else matters outside of it. If we have any kind of, text chain, we're doing it on the fucking core four.
I'm not changing the picture, though.
No, the picture is still good. We have a very good picture of us at a rooftop bar.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
It was windy that day. We were standing in front of a small reflection pool. It was John, you, myself, and it was this guy.
Mr. Purple? No big deal.
That's what it was, Mr. Purple.
We go to hot clubs.
East Side, Mr. Purple. Did I tell you when I was in Miami, I did the poppy steak? Did I mention it on here?
What's that?
I went to Miami and for NASCAR, and Dave went with us because he was down there. I really thought he was going to bring Miss Peaches, and I was just going to have to hold dog shit the whole time. You know, be really demoralized by that bitch. No offense. And we went to a fancy Miami steakhouse without Dave, with just the NASCAR people. It was called Poppy Steak. And $1,000 for a ribeye, bone-in ribeye, $1,000. And they bring it out in a gold briefcase, and they open up the briefcase, and the dry ice smoke comes out. It's illuminated inside, so you see the raw steak. Then they brand it at your table, so you know it's your steak. Then they go back, cook it, and bring it back out. $1,000. And I can tell you right now, it's nowhere near worth of fucking money for the thing. Everybody was up, taking pictures and shit of it. Mm-hmm. There was 8 people doing the presentation of this with flashlights doing this type of shit. And all I wanted was somebody to refill my water. There was 8 fucking people, and they were all just trying to make an Instagram moment. Nobody was filling my water. I guess that shit's passed me by.
How similar to a $75 steak was it?
It was extremely similar to every $125, $150, $200 steak you have in the city.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was better than the Sizzler. You know what I mean? It was better than Old Homes. It was better than Old Homestead. It was better than the fucking Outback.
The Acme London Broil.
Sushi by Sea.
Sushi by Sea, yeah.
Texas Roadhouse.
Where they would lift the things off and it would...
Yeah, Sushi by Sea is a place. Vibsy had gone with us for Annie's birthday. We had been a couple of times, and they do pop-up omakases in and around New York City, and it's very good.
Next time. You guys
16 courses.
So, I feel like this is a problem too, though. There's omakase everywhere.
Yeah.
There's omakase everywhere.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but you can't take the New Jersey Transit and end up right in front of this Sushi by the Sea.
All the time. I mentioned that bus work was fucking awesome. And so you're going to just move that stick a little bit further up so it gets a little bit more in front of your mouth, or else it's sort of like you're in a wind tunnel. Not a wind tunnel, but you're in that tunnel where the bear Jew was before they call him out.
What would that tunnel
Come
be?
out and oblige him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Is that better? Am I screwing you with that?
No. I'll just do that.
Okay.
So, yes, we did Poppy Steak.
Better?
Yeah, perfect. But when you turn to talk to me, then I can't hear you. Yes.
Got to go this way?
Yeah, exactly. So that's it.
It's like Seinfeld. You're in the middle. You got a big job.
Right.
I'm just going to hold it.
That's Larry David. Sorry.
Yeah. I rewatched a season of Larry on a plane the other day, and it still holds up.
Curb Your Enthusiasm?
Yeah. I don't know which one I'd watched, because I'd watched the latest season, and it was okay. The one where he was gave out the water on the election line and stuff like that. I thought it was an okay season. Yeah. I watched an older season, and I was dying on a plane with the help of a little bit of 3Chi. Yeah. This is the twisted history of innovation. We're going to talk about people who have pivoted their businesses into some of the absolute behemoths that we use just about every day. And we're just going to talk about whatever the hell we want to talk about. It's December 2024. We normally do a best of, but when we cut it down to obviously one a month, there's no reason to do a best of, right? Because it's sort of few and far between. But tell a friend that we're back, obviously, because now we have a lot more to listen to and whatnot. What were you going to say, Johnny?
I actually hadn't thought of that, but we probably do. How many episodes?
We do this episode, do a best of, give
it
double the dose.
The past several episodes, I think we've had a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I don't know what episode we're up to.
Past few months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think once, you know what I'm going to try and do next year too? I'm going to be doing more with this stupid food stuff. I'm having fun with it. Those
crush.
Yeah. They seem to be doing okay. So I'm going to try. And I love doing it.
Not to glaze you, but there's no better host. Like, food.
Yeah.
You're one of the best cooks I've ever encountered. Like, we did that cooking show and you crushed it. It was awesome.
Yeah, I won.
I can't speak highly enough of your cooking. It rules.
That. Yeah. And I like going out in the city.
We should talk about that. I feel like you should hire Ian Becker. We should steal him away from anything else he's doing.
Ian Becker is a kid.
You can't tell me he's doing something more important. He's
no,
not.
Absolutely not. So what Ian did, so whenever I do the food stuff, we call it, you got to try this. I say, hey, put a pin in this one, Ian, you got to try it. And Annie does shoot a lot of the stuff that we do in New Jersey. It's cell phone shot, and she does it perfectly. And then Ian edits and does all that stuff to make me seem less stupid and to fit the algo.
I'm surprised no one's been like, wait, you're talking to Ian. Meanwhile, they can see me in the reflection.
Yeah. People who are looking for people in reflections, though.
All the time.
The forensic
internet detectives
guys. Yeah.
I love that system. That's great.
Yeah. Ian was a senior at, is it Washington University in St. Louis?
Oh.
Wazoo in St. Louis, right?
Yeah, there's a Washington St. Louis.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think what their mascot is. I
forgot. He had started the Barstool Finance page, and finance Twitter and finance Instagram, they're filled with memes and stuff, and it was kind of not easy to grow, but they had a lot of stuff to post. So he got it up to like 1 million followers while he was still in college. He had sold it to Barstool and took a job. And then he was ours for Barstool Finance when Tyler Morin was here with the Water Coolest, and he was doing stuff with that. And then because Erica said, we don't want to have Sirius Radio because that's a dead platform. Instead, we'll go to newsletters. Might as well have fucking hired Pony Express people. You know what I'm saying? So we hired 3 people for newsletters. Then those guys kind of got wiped out. Ian is now working with Pilar and their team on the merch side, which obviously is extremely important to our bottom line. But when he has some downtime, particularly, just to kind of screw, he doesn't do much else with social, helps out Travi and all that kind of stuff, to where he has a little bit of time that he can do this and see some potential in it. So we've been doing it together and I'm fucking loving it. So we're going to do a weekly show just so we can attach some advertising to it. So next year, I think starting in February, you got to try this. Will be a weekly show. We'll do 2 restaurants a week for social. And then I'll just talk about food, have like chefs and shit in and stuff. So I'm excited about that, to be quite honest with you. But that's it. John, it's nice to see you back in the United States.
Yeah, we're totally all over the place. I kind of love it because we have a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about drones in New Jersey.
Sure.
Hope so.
Eventually.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But no, I'm back from Turkey. We got that stuff.
Did you do India too?
No. I didn't even know he was going to India. But
he didn't know he was going to India.
Yeah. No,
last second I got a visa.
Give me background on why you were there. Like
Turkey,
for people.
So the hair transplant. So
Yeah.
he had been talking to White Sox Dave, I think, for 2 years.
And this is Wonton
Eddie
Don
as well.
Yeah.
About doing hair transplants. Word spread. Ken Jack got involved. More people went. Rudy went. So lots of Barstool guys, lots of Stoolies. It was a great trip. Yeah. We really lucked out with the group of Stoolies. It was an awesome group.
That's great. Might you with hair plugs? I don't know if I'd like that. I like you bald.
I wouldn't do it.
Once they shaved their heads, they were all like, I like being bald.
I bet.
Yeah.
White Sox Dave looked very good bald.
Yeah.
He did look bald.
I'm not the first to say it, but he did look. He looks a lot better bald.
It's all about the beard. You have a great beard.
Yeah.
So
Thank you.
Pull off the.
Yeah. Get a lot of compliments.
I'm glazing you today. Yeah.
I feel good.
I was saying the 3 of you guys look better than ever.
Feel okay. Yeah, Vibs is kind of looking ripped.
Yeah. I know. Look at this.
Look at you. You're jacked,
Yeah,
Vibsy.
brother.
Christ.
Yeah.
No big
Do you have the
deal.
washboard?
Oh yeah. I gotta be ready to fight.
But,
you gotta be ready to fiite in these streets. Keep your head on a swivel.
So look for that content January.
Slide into
In January, that's when it's dropping.
Don and I he's texting me right now about it. So yeah, we're chopping it up. It's going to be, and then there's going to be a 6-month follow-up because obviously it's going to grow in. So,
oh yeah,
Este Nove, the name of the company's paying, so it's going to be a lot of content. Yeah.
Este Nove in Turkey is the place that did the hair transplants.
Is that who did Dave's?
No.
Go
He
all
did
the way
his in
over there?
Boston because it's more expensive here. Like the cost of labor, the cost of like the business is probably like $30,000 here, and there it's probably like half.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
They're not assassinating
But
CEOs over in Turkey right now.
They undercut the market in Mexico, obviously, and places like Turkey, where it just creates a little. It's still regulated. It's still,
I was pleasantly
just less
surprised.
cost for the labor.
I was pleasantly surprised with the quality of the facilities that you guys, not you because you didn't have to do it because you have a full head of hair.
We saw the photos online.
Yeah, and I thought
state-of-the-art facilities.
Yeah, I thought. You ever see the Minority Report with Tom Cruise? With the
take their eyeballs out.
Yeah, well, he had to go and get his eye. Yeah, he had to go get his eyeball removed.
Oh,
or remember, he had to go and get his eyeballs like redone by that one actor who's awesome in everything. He was great in Fargo. Yeah, he was the devil in Constantine. Yeah, the snot scene. He was the devil in Constantine.
The guy from
the movie Fargo. The movie Fargo.
Prison Break.
He's got the. It's not Slavic. It's like Welsh.
He just did a commercial for Barstool.
Yeah.
It's like
he did, right?
He did with Dan, the security guard, right?
Yeah.
Because I think he was in here talking to Ken Jack. The guy, can you guess his name? You will.
I'm going to do it right now.
Wow.
And so that's what I thought it was going to be like some real,
He's been around forever. He's
like these
great.
women who go to.
Russian, I guess.
Yeah,
his name is Peter Stormare.
Peter Stormare. Yeah, he's very good.
Excellent. He's got such blue eyes. It's crazy.
Yeah. And Mincy's got blue eyes. One blue this way, one blue the other way.
Watch it.
Sorry about that.
The scene in Prison Break or Minority Report where Tom Cruise does the
yes.
That's one take. He just
really?
Get in there and act like you're like on a touch screen, and I don't think you really know what touch screens are back then. And Tom Cruise is like, "Yeah, I got it," and just one took that.
You were talking about cooking that, and then I was a pretty good cook, and the scene from Big Night. You ever see Big Night with Stanley Tucci?
No, I'm thinking of Black Night with Martin Lawrence.
Oh no! But he makes an omelet in it, and it's a one-take thing with Stanley Tucci making the omelet. Like Bobby Flay was on Hot Ones, which, by the way, just got sold for like $63 million.
Oh yeah.
Sean Evans is the guy who hosts it. He's one of the guys that bought part of it and whatnot.
It's on my script. Getting bought.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, and he's writing a script about all the stuff that she'd gone through, particularly once she'd gotten down to the floor, and then, right up until 9/11 and beyond. So we're screwing around with that now. Let's start with some DMs. Hey, Large and Crew, to chime in on a past episode of Local Dialect, I'm a New Orleans white guy, and we too call them cold drinks. He says co-drinks. Which I kind of like. And I don't mean that white-black thing. I mean, I love that white-black thing. Tune into Gillian Wallow's Knockout Party if you want to see the whole white-black thing. But somebody had said that maybe the cold drinks phenomenon is something just in the black community, and apparently it's not at all.
Yeah.
So he's like, he's a New Orleans white guy, calls them cold drinks because we were talking about pop, soda, soft drinks, whatever you call any kind of cola. And in New Orleans, they call them cold drinks. Even if they're on the shelf, room temperature waiting to be bought is still considered a cold drink. Also, I'd be remiss to say, once upon a time, I was married to an archivist at the National WW2 Museum here in town, which is my favorite museum in the world.
Yeah.
I like the World War II Museum in New Orleans.
That's where Sarah Kirksey works.
Yes.
The one that gave us the tour.
I like it better than the Louvre. There isn't a better thing, so I love it.
They got. I was just in New Orleans. They got ads all over the airport for the World War II Museum. We didn't have time, but I wanted to go so bad.
Rat Race.
Yeah, Rat Race New Orleans.
When does that drop?
Super Bowl.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yep.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So that's a little bit in the can.
Yeah. But it's coming closer than you think.
Right. Speaking a little bit in the can. So this guy had a ex-wife who used to work at the WW2 Museum here in town. I'm going to continue to read the DM. Every year on D-Day, the whole staff would put on old uniforms and outfits, and they would honor the veterans of D-Day. And then my then wife would be required to dress up as Rosie the Riveter. I'm a carpenter by trade, so she just wore my work clothes and a red bandana. And he says here, whammo. But we all know that. Rosie the Riveter is, that's fodder, right? Like, that's sexy as all.
A little role play, yeah.
Yeah, a little redhead, right? Throwing up the thing. I'd get you in a Rosie the Riveter tonight. Anyway, this is what he says. Anyways, once a year, one of the old guys would drive the functioning tank they had in the warehouse, and the tank would live in the unmonitored warehouse the other 364 days of the year. my then wife and I would periodically check the tank out because it was full of old war stuff, or she needed something for her job from the archives. Then he says again, and anyways, we totally banged in the tank.
Yeah, you
good
got
for
it.
him, man. That's a very good DM for us. Love your show, New Orleans guy. Didn't give me his name, fucking coward.
You got to be careful. I feel like there's not much like soft padding. It's like a bunch of sharp,
yeah.
hard metal.
Into a tank.
Yeah.
Like I've watched the movie Fury many a time.
I didn't want to sound uneducated, but that's what my knowledge of the tank comes from. Yeah.
And so Annie just said, "I'll dress up as Rosie the Riveter, and you can go and take me in a tank." But she also knows I need optimum conditions now. I can't have any too sharp corners. I can't. Everything would be cold.
Yeah.
Like if I rested my ass on a cold steel wall.
Even if you're fucking in a car, you got a seatbelt jamming inside. You know, you got to go. It's tough.
You guys got to learn to just suck it up and go.
I guess, yeah. So we had the guy who gave us the history of Tom's River, who then got head from Rachel in, right? Remember that?
Gazebo?
Now this guy,
Banging
New
in a
Orleans
tank.
guy, was banging his ex-wife in a tank by the World War II Museum.
I love
Keep
that.
those things coming in. This is from Tim Landa. This is for large only because I'm a fellow old nerd.
Wait, can we say that we want people to start sending in like the greatest places that they've banged their...
If you've ever
I
fucked
love
somebody,
that.
and if it has anything to do with history,
Yeah.
even if there was a statue
Not a
of...
conference room somewhere.
Yeah, if there was a statue of Bernard Baruch in the distance, I'll talk about Baruch, and then you just tell me how you took somebody from behind. You know what I mean? Something like that.
Yeah.
You know what I
So
mean?
funny. I love
Consensual. It's got to be consensual, though. So this guy says this is for me only because he's a fellow old nerd. I don't know if you would use that as a word to describe me. An old nerd?
Old, never.
Well, I mean, I don't take umbrage too much with that.
I love when you're nerd shows.
Okay. Old nerd, you think?
You're like an undercover nerd. Like
Big time.
that Notre Dame education comes out.
I
know
think
he
that's
does a
sexy
movie
as
club.
Fuck, by the way, being a nerd,
What?
I love
Thanks.
nerds.
What do you mean?
You know, yeah.
Do you know this fucking
I know
asshole?
cinema.
It does a movie club. Can I talk about that?
Yeah,
Oh
like
my
your-
God, I've heard about this so much. We're joining. By
You
the
want
way.
in? Okay, all right.
I don't know if I do, but this week you
You
did
don't know if you do.
You're in a
He was
biker
very
gang?
upset he wasn't included.
Yeah.
a movie club
Yeah.
with a bunch
Same
of dudes. Yeah, a bunch of dudes over in production.
But he wants to wear when he's watching movies, and then he's going to hold a staff during them. Believe me, he's got it all figured out.
No interest in a book club. I would consider a movie club.
Movie club's fun,
What do you do?
especially when you watch a movie and then you talk about it.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
I
You
know.
know Brian from Rough and Rowdy?
I don't know
Kinda
why
Yeah,
we're,
yeah,
we're not.
Ogden.
We weren't
Brian
invited.
Ogden. Is Manoli in it?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm out.
He.
No, don't say that. That's
Don't get me
fine.
started on what he
Oh, he's
he had a pick that was. It wasn't even a movie. It was like a TV series. And we're like,
was
what are
it
we
really?
doing?
Somebody picked the song
Was it
in the
like
car.
one-
We were all like, no.
yeah.
You pick like Chuck or whatever that is.
It was, but no, it's fun to watch movies and hear the editor's perspective, just because they're all film nerds and they all have a good perspective on the cinema.
Well, you
What's
could
the one this
share
month?
your thoughts with the pod.
This week, 7 Psychopaths.
Oh, Seven Psychopaths with was Walken in that?
Yes, I think so. Walken, I think Colin Farrell. I haven't watched it yet. I still got to watch
Yeah.
it.
Wait, the Tarantino one?
No.
No.
I forget. I've only seen it once. But last
He's
week,
already
I'm
watched.
thinking of
He's
the
already
Hateful
seen
Eight.
it.
yeah. Oh, Hateful Eight, I loved. I just watched the miniseries of it. You know, they cut it into 7 episodes for Netflix. Or not 7 episodes, but Netflix is running it, and so with all the deleted scenes and stuff like that, so you can watch it in maybe like 4 installments, and it's twice the movie.
I'm going to give you the cast. 7 Psychopaths came out in 2012. It's got Christopher Walken, Sam Rockwell, Colin Farrell, Woody Harrelson, Abby Cornish, Olga Kurylenko, Tom Waits, Michael Stuhlbarg,
Tom Waits.
yeah, and Michael Pitt. It's got a pretty good cast.
I don't know. It's a great cast. Tom Waits thrown in there.
But you can suggest. It doesn't have to be like a pretentious movie. It could be. We had The Fugitive one week, and it was great. Everyone loved it.
you just did a John Wayne movie too.
We
didn't
did John Wayne. We did oh shit, what was it called?
Start our own movie club, large.
you? Yeah.
I can't even remember what it was called. Oh, Red River.
Yeah, the Red River.
Good American beef.
What would you
Got-
ask people? What would you ask people to see? If you were doing a movie club and the first up is John Kelly, what would you
I
ask
gotta have
people
to
to
think
see?
about it. I gotta know
Think
who's
about it.
in the club because
Come a
that's
bit-
sort of part of it.
Well, let's
right?
just say it's the core 4.
Like this group.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the core.
Well, we've
four.
had so many. We had Zone of Inclusion on there.
Zone of interest.
Zone of Exclusion, right?
Yeah.
Zone of interest.
Zone of Interest.
Yeah, yeah.
What am I saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I?
Yeah.
We hadn't done a comedy yet for the thing. I
Ah.
Kingpin.
Yeah.
Kingpin's up there.
Kingpin.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would do Patton. have everybody watch Patton.
Patton's
again.
good. Patton's good.
Yeah.
What clip did I just see from that movie that is so funny? Not from Patton.
You gotta get. It's three. You gotta think about the length. These guys, they got TikTok brain, so if it gets too long, they'll get upset.
Such a dumb movie. Orange County.
Orange County.
Oh, Jack Black and.
So there's a clip of the Ben Stiller has a funny cameo in it. It's just like he's like a firefighter. It's a ridiculous clip.
Yeah, I walked by and they were all
we have some good ones.
They were like chatting movies. I was like, what is this?
Yeah, we do like a little
slice of
15-minute break every once a week, and talk
Get
a
a tuna
movie.
sub and just kind of hang out.
Yeah, yeah.
Which makes you a fucking nerd. So this for Large only because I'm a fellow
Just
old
sex
nerd.
tips.
The guy's name is
hot
Tim.
now.
Large, I just found out where the name COLECO came from, and you're the only person I has to share this with because my wife and daughters do not care in the slightest. You don't remember COLECO? Do you remember it?
I don't.
This is so in my.
It was a toy
This
company.
guy was perfect. It's right in my wheelhouse.
that.
Yeah, video games.
Video game.
Yeah,
I remember being a company.
So COLECO was a toy company in the 1980s. This is my background for you guys. It mass-produced versions of Cabbage Patch Kid dolls and video game consoles. That's where its two tent posts: Cabbage Patch and video
Which are
game
not adoption
consoles.
dolls.
And the video game console was ColecoVision, right?
ColecoVision, yeah.
Which I never had because I was always an Atari kid. So it was ColecoVision, Intellivision, or the Atari 2600. It's the second generation video games, and those were the three big boys. People bought ColecoVision because theirs was the first to include, as the in-game box, the first home version of Donkey Kong. Back then, like gaming things came with one cartridge. I don't know how you download stuff now on the PS, whatever we're up to. But it always came with one cartridge. So a lot of times people would choose which one they bought by which game they gave away with it. So ColecoVision had Donkey Kong. The Atari 2600 had Pac-Man. And Intellivision's biggest hit was Major League Baseball. But, Atari started with Space Invaders. I was a big Atari guy. So I didn't have ColecoVision. I was an Atari guy. But that's what Coleco was. It was on every kid's wish list or wish list adjacent. What were you saying, Johnny?
No, it's cool. Now that you could see the picture.
Yes.
I'll throw it up on the YouTube version. But I've seen it before. I never knew that's what it was called.
Yeah.
I was in
Coleco.
television.
Were you in television?
Yeah, because it was like Andrea Electron. Like that was like we had
You're not the mic.
the Andrea Electron. Like that was all
Yeah.
like what my dad did. So
Yeah.
I didn't really have a choice.
But back to Tim. I just read that Coleco began as a leather goods company in Connecticut in 1932. Okay, so went on to doing Cabbage Patch Kids and ColecoVisions. It started as a leather goods company in 1932. And it was originally known as the Connecticut Leather Company, which they shortened to Coleco. Connecticut, C-O, leather, L-E, and C-O for company.
I Googled it and it said leather, and I was like, what is going on? Where are we at right now? Yeah.
And the same thing, when I was doing the dozen with you last year, or maybe the year before, we had a snack question where they had asked, what came from the New England Candy Company? And I said Necco wafers because it was New England Candy Company, Necco, and Necco, and I hate Necco
And they're
wafers.
I was about to say, they're
They're
disgusting.
covered in like talcum powder.
Especially
and
the
shit.
white or black
Terrible
ones.
Yeah,
Ugh.
fucking awful. So I went to fact check Tim, and he's absolutely correct. It started as a leather company that also began making
Fat chicken.
fat shamed Tim. I fact checked Tim. It began making leather making kits for children. I guess for kids who like to wear vests.
What every kid wants for Christmas.
Yeah, which led them into the toy field at a time where everyone was trying to make home video systems, and they tried their own version with ColecoVision. So ColecoVision is actually from the Connecticut Leather Company, which I think people will know, and they went one further and tried to sell the first home computer, and it was called the Coleco Atom. I think it was like to maybe rival. Remember when Apple first came out with their home computer and it sort of had the back to it?
Looked like
Yeah.
an egg. Yeah.
Yeah. So Coleco Atom was before that, and it was an absolute fucking failure. So the company declared bankruptcy in 1989, and HASBRO, we all know HASBRO,
Yep.
scooped up their toy segment for pennies on the dollar. All right? So let's go down a rabbit hole with this and try to find names that appeal more to everyone than just us old nerds. And my favorite that I always talk about is Bear Aspirin. I'm not going to go through it again, but it got its start during the Holocaust. Hugo Boss, which, Pat Mahomes is the spokesperson of, spokesperson of, got its start by outfitting the Hitler Youth. So some of them are kind of, pretty grim. DuPont started over 220 years ago in 1802, and it made gunpowder. That doesn't really surprise me that it then went from gunpowder into being a chemicals company, but going from leather goods to being a ColecoVision, or perhaps going from gassing 6 million Jews to making aspirin, like those type of things are the leaps that I'm trying to look for here a little bit. Are you saying something, Jen? And then any company, and you can say to me, Large, obviously these companies don't start and end with the same product. No company just starts with one product and ends with one product, or very few do. You got to pivot and die. Like if you're the best fucking butter churner maker, that's great, but you got to divert. No, but I also make stagecoaches. That you're fucked, right? Like you're always got to be, if you're not changing, then you're dying. So all these companies that pivoted may not make sense, but it kind of makes sense when you think about how things start to progress. So that's why this is the twisted history of innovation.
We should talk more about DuPont. I feel like we've never gotten into the whole PFAS movie recommendation. Mark Ruffalo one, Deepwater. Very good.
I've never seen Deepwater, but I've seen All the Money in the World. Wasn't that DuPont?
Is that something else they did?
Yeah, no. No.
This is about the Teflon.
Yeah.
Like forever chemical stuff.
All the Money in the World, though, wasn't it about DuPont? No,
that was, you're talking about Getty?
Getty, I'm sorry.
Yes,
I'm 100% wrong.
Yeah.
The Mark Ruffalo one was more environmental, right? Like concerns
exactly.
with stuff like that?
Was the big
Yeah.
leak, right?
Yeah, it came out like right before pandemic, so it kind of got buried. But, it was very good.
That's the movie club then.
Yeah,
Do
serious.
that.
But anyway, I don't think we've done a deep dive on DuPont.
No. Yeah. And I started to scratch the surface of it just when I wanted to tell you guys exactly how you call DuPont. What do you call that conglomerate? And I said it was a chemicals company, but it obviously does a lot more than that. But you have to have that overarching thing to describe your company.
Some of these sector. It should be a sector on a trading pad.
Yeah.
I thought chemical was.
What?
I thought it was its own sector.
Well, chemicals are, but you have these conglomerates like Tyco and DuPont and all these ones that can't be pigeonholed to just doing chemicals, right?
Oh.
Because they do so many other things.
Like Johnson & Johnson.
Yeah. But so much more than that, to be quite honest with you.
They classify themselves as a chemical company.
Yeah. And so when it traded on a trading desk, because I traded it, it traded with the conglomerates. That's when I was trading Tyco, doing all that shit with. We always think about it, and I'm going to mention it a couple times.
You have REITs, you have, where it falls under.
Yeah, REITs, retailers, tech, some guys, tech had 3 or 4 different traders. One guy traded semis, one guy did this. Energy. We had a bunch of financials, utilities is what I had traded for the bulk of my career. But you'll even see that when we mention a bunch of companies during this podcast, I always am going to mention their stock symbol, and a lot of them I just happen to trade because I traded so many different pads.
And then they have subsidiaries.
In my long career.
So it's who else does what it falls under? What falls underneath the big umbrella?
But imagine if Amazon was like, you know what? We're not branching out. I think we're cool just selling books. They were just selling books.
Yeah, they're
and that's how they started. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if they didn't branch out, I would have to actually go to a mall.
Oh, God.
I remember buying a book off of Amazon and thinking it was just the coolest thing in the world. Brian's Return, part of the Hatchet series. Yeah. And I was just like, wow, this is awesome. Books online.
Bibsy, they're going to be sliding into your DMs left and right.
It's a legendary book.
I read.
It is.
Nerd alert.
Tiffany started in 1837 just selling stationery. But it's not that much of a stretch that their business model pivoted to jewelry somewhere along the way, because they were stationery, then also small gifts, and then there was some jewelry involved and whatnot. So that makes a lot of sense. Xerox started in 1906. By the way, I'm just throwing out these dates flippantly. Tiffany started in 1837. It's almost 200 years ago, right? Xerox started in 1906, over 100 years ago, making photographic paper for early cameras, which so makes sense that they went on to be the biggest copier maker for a long time in the world. Those are natural progressions.
And that's one of those things where you had asked one time, what is something that you call by the name?
Yeah.
It's not a photocopy.
Can you give me a Xerox? Yeah. Can you give me?
There's so few things. There's
Kleenex.
Right?
Yeah, Bounty. Can I get a Coke? Although now I call it a cold drink. Oh, no, I call it a sody pop. Sody water from Arkansas.
Water,
John Deere was a blacksmith. John Deere was a man. And yeah, so but you never know, right?
Man.
Yeah, he was a man.
I thought you were going to say that he had transitioned because
That's what it's exactly where I was going.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right.
But John Deere was a man who went to Illinois in 1836 to escape bankruptcy in Vermont, where he was born and raised. And then when he went there, he was a blacksmith.
Drop everything and leave.
You just move across the state, and you're like, I'm a new man. I got a new life.
Yeah, and he's fucking blacksmith.
Frank,
yeah.
And so he started making like plows out of steel or whatever, and it just took off. And that stands to reason then that he's whatever.
It's like what was it? The Japanese we were talking about last week, last episode, where you just change your name, you just change your whole identity.
Yeah, and they adopt you.
Yeah.
You can, Oh, when you want to disappear.
Yeah.
They have services for that.
Yeah.
But so now John Deere went from being a blacksmith who basically escaped Vermont, which doesn't happen too often, to go to Illinois, starts his blacksmithing job there, and now they do $51 billion in revenue a year.
It's wild.
And he doesn't see any of that. Obviously, he's been dead for a long time. Rest in peace. But that was in 1836. But there are a lot that don't make sense. They don't make sense. We mentioned Hasbro buying part of COLECO after the company had declared bankruptcy, but I'm going to talk to you about Hasbro right now. Hasbro is a huge toy company. It owns brands like Kenner and Milton Bradley. They make products like Transformers, G.I. Joe, Power Rangers, Monopoly, Nerf, Potato Head, Play-Doh, Twister, and My Little Pony. These are the big boys. These are all the Hall of Fame Christmas toys and whatnot. It has nearly 6,000 employees. It made $6 billion in 2022. It's a member of the S&P 500, and I traded it for a while when I had the consumer pad under the ticker. Do you remember the ticker for Hasbro?
HAS?
HAS was the ticker for Hasbro. That $6 billion a year behemoth started over 100 years ago in 1923 by three Polish brothers, and they're all alliterative names. Henry Hassenfeld, Hillel Hassenfeld, and Herman Hassenfeld in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, selling textile remnants. What the fuck is a textile remnant? It's leftover rolls of cloth that are unused and unwanted, and it's essentially just offcuts from the garment industry that are either tossed or sold at a discount. And the Hassenfelds would buy these things at a discount and then sell them to smaller operations and smaller manufacturers.
I thought textiles was like kitchen floors.
Yeah, so you think of textiles, you right away think of linoleum, right? Yeah, stuff like that. So I think it's more of a broader sweeper thing.
What's
It's
popular?
actually a huge area up there, like for that.
Yeah.
What's popular these days? Every floor. Name a floor type. Not hardwood. Yeah, it is, right? Well, it's like how many floors?
Like linoleum, carpeting, pile carpeting, like all those different types.
Yeah, all the types of floor. That's what I thought textiles like.
No, this is more like
like a guy who opens up a briefcase with
curtains.
samples of
like they have these
edges.
big like pallets of curtains and stuff.
Yeah. I think because there's a guy that I know who goes to huge construction sites, and like let's say you're building a office building and you're putting in the electrical and you order 6,000 light switches for your office building and you wind up using 5,600 of them. You have 400 light switches left over, but you're going on to another job where you're going to have to order 10,000 light switches that are different. What do you do with the other 400? And so he would buy them from big companies for pennies on the dollar. Like literally, if it's $1 to get that light switch, he would buy it for 10 cents as opposed to them just throwing it away. And then he'd flip it over to a smaller thing and he'd sell it to him for 50 cents. Everybody fucking made out. So that's how the Hassenfeld, these Polish Jewish brothers, had made their money with textiles. They would just kind of turn them over. And over the next 2 decades, right, because this was in 1923, over the next 2 decades, the company expanded to produce pencil cases and school supplies. And then they started producing modeling clay, and then a doctor and nurse kit as their first toys. And they became primarily a toy company by 1942. These are Polish Jewish brothers in the United States, and they built an empire by 1942. What else happened in 1942 in the world where Polish Jewish brothers would be kind of involved? That's World War II, right? Yeah. So it's 1942. The Hassenfeld brothers were immigrants from Ulanów, Poland, so they spent the war years helping to rescue and employ fellow Jews who were able to escape from Ulanów. Jacob Clapper, a Holocaust survivor born in Ulanów, recalled being told when he arrived in the United States that Hassenfeld brothers would employ any survivor from Ulanów, no questions asked. That's kind of cool. I like that. and obviously this is Hasbro, and their names were Henry Hillel and Herman Hassenfeld, the Hassenfeld brothers. So the name Hasbro comes from Haas Brothers, right? So it's Hassenfeld Brothers is then condensed. Oh, glad I got an O out of John. I don't get a lot of those. I get a couple out of her every now and then.
Hard to impress that man.
Yeah, yeah. The first popular toy by Hasbro was Mr. Potato Head in 1952. And then by 1954, the company became a Disney major licensee. And then you're fucking set for the rest of your life.
They're printing money.
Yeah. Hassenfeld Brothers produced the G.I. Joe toy line in 1964, which they termed an action figure for the very first time in order to market it to boys who didn't want to play with gay dolls.
Amen, brother.
Yeah, manly as shit. By 1965, a year later, G.I. Joe accounted for 2/3 of the Hassenfeld sales. Not all their toys were home runs, though. The two 1970 toys that were public relation disasters, one of them was named Javelin Darts, later called Lawn Darts, which were similar to the ancient Roman Plumbata, which I put a picture of in here, which were essentially these lead sinkers with giant fucking harpoons on them and then broom handles, so you'd be able to throw them high in the air. They would correct themselves and fall straight down into bunkers and impale soldiers. And that's the idea behind Lawn Darts, right? Yeah. So that was the first thing that the Hassenfeld bros put out, and they were like, no. The Consumer Product Safety Commission eventually banned lawn darts from selling in the United States due to their hazards as a flying projectile with a sharp metal point, causing multiple deaths. I don't know. I didn't even go into it just to find out what parent was standing over a coffin of a kid that they lost because he played fucking lawn darts.
Yeah.
That's a nightmare.
It's kind of like grown-ups, right? When they shoot the dart in the sky.
Oh, yeah. They shoot the arrow in the sky, and then they all scatter. Yeah. It goes right in Rob's foot.
I always thought it was just a coincidence they made a weapon, but they literally based it off of like the
Plumbata.
The Plumbata.
Yeah.
That's wild.
By the way, Plumbata sounds like something you would see in that one show on the History Channel. I hope it's still
I thought
around.
you were going to say LabCorp.
The Ultimate Warrior?
Lawn darts are actually dangerous, right?
Lawn darts are very dangerous. Yeah, they're not allowed to be sold.
So they're banned.
Right.
I see them every now and again, but I don't know if there's a black market for them.
I'm surprised you don't have
They've remade them, and now they're like plastic or something like that.
Okay.
But they had lawn darts where they still had the needle.
Right.
And then they got rid of them, and I think they brought them back as like a plastic, safer version.
Yeah. They have ones that still have the weighted ends, but they're smooth, and you got to like throw them almost into a hoop somewhere. Like, you know what I mean? Like they're supposed to land inside a... The other toy that they had in the 70s was called the Hydro Squirt, and it was a giant hypodermic needle.
Yeah.
I put a picture in there of it.
Squirt pen. Remember that thing?
Oh, that was awesome. But the hypodermic needle-shaped water gun, I put a picture in. It's 100% unapologetically a giant needle.
That
it shoots over 20 foot. Yeah. So it was taken off, and it was tagged as a junior junkie kit. And the kit was later recalled. I'm going to do a small left turn here right away, and this left turn is brought to you by Simply Safe. If you ever worry about the safety of your home and family, there's no better time to act. Right now, Simply Safe is extending what was its massive Black Friday deal for my listeners, our listeners. Get 50% off a new Simply Safe security system. 50% off. Simply Safe is the home security to trust, and you can get 50% off today just by visiting simplysafe.com/twisted. This is your last chance to protect your home at Simply Safe's lowest price of the year. It's a new way to protect your home that stops intruders before they break into your home. Old school systems only take action once somebody's already inside, and that's too late. So Simply Safe's active guarded outdoor protection changes the game by preventing crime before it even happens. So if someone's lurking around, like Vibs going through your garbage, or acting suspiciously, like John going through your laundry, those agents see them in real time, talk to them directly, set off your spotlights, or even call the police before they've had a chance to break in. So I said it before, Simply Safe is extending its massive Black Friday deal for our listeners. This week only, you can get 50% off any new system with a select professional monitoring plan. This is your last chance to claim their best offer of the year, so jump on it now. Head to simplysafe.com/twisted. That's simplysafe, S-I-M-P-L-I, safe.com/twisted, and there is no safe like Simply Safe. The reason I'm taking a left turn is because I'm going to talk about World War II a lot, because a lot of the products that we're going to talk about, started in the early 1900s, and if they made it to today, they did have some hiccups along the way, one of them being a giant war. And one of those people that had a hiccup along the way was definitely Disney. Disney's biggest animated movie hits were in the 20s and the early 30s, those early bangers. And by the time the WW2 came around, they were bleeding dough with a couple of big budget stinkers like Fantasia, and they weren't making money off European audiences who were too busy fighting fucking Nazis to go to the movies to see like Pinocchio or Bambi in theaters, right? So Disney was bleeding money. Fantasia cost them a lot and it didn't make a lot. Fantasia stunk.
Yeah, there's no amount of drugs that can make Fantasia.
When did that come out?
Fantasia came out in 1941, maybe?
Oh, I thought it came out in like 2003. I was so confused about the Nazis thing. I was like, because didn't it re-release?
Yeah, no, they re-released it.
It also failed again.
Yeah. It's a terrible movie. Like it's artistic and there's certain things that it did for the first time to be groundbreaking, but it made them no money. And on top of it, like I said, your European market is crushed when you have bombers overhead bombing movie theaters.
I think it's coming back to me a little bit. Movie Club. It has a little bit of a cult following now because it was like ahead of its time. In contrast to most of their duds, like which are awful, like the John Carter, which is just like terrible.
Right.
And so
I didn't even put the numbers in.
Fantasia, if you see it, it's like pretty remarkable.
Yeah, and the Sorcerer's Assistant, I think, was based on that. That was
degrees. I haven't seen it, to be honest.
You hated Fantasia with a passion.
I hated it too. I thought it was awful.
The choir show tune nerds in high school liked it. And like, we got to watch Fantasia. And I was like,
really?
wow.
They lost like in the first 5 minutes of that movie.
I get it. It was probably groundbreaking and awesome at the time. But it's not music. Music isn't my thing. Probably because I have no musical talent.
It was too woke.
It was too woke for me, brother. Those brooms, we know what that message was.
Yeah, exactly. So my point is, Walt Disney entered the winter of 1941 in a financial crisis. I didn't put the numbers for Fantasia, John, just because they're not that impressive. Like now we hear about them spending $270 million on a movie and only making $100 million, and that movie is a flop. Back then you made a movie for $3 million, but if you made $4 million, you were in the fucking money.
Right.
So the numbers weren't that impressive for me to say, to tell you guys. But just know that Disney was in dire straits going into the winter of 1941. What happened in the winter of 1941, more specifically around December? A bunch of bad people decided to drive planes into into a U.S. military base in Hawaii, and that was the. Did I just call it Hawaii?
Yeah.
I put the wrong emphasis on the wrong syllable.
I almost called you walking.
Yeah, here.
You went the different direction.
Yeah. So the surprise attack on Pearl Harbor, where immediately following the attack, 500 United States Army troops began an occupation of Walt Disney Studios in Burbank. I think this is wild. They bombed Pearl Harbor. Right? And so the Army needs to set up some sort of military base in order to protect the Lockheed aircraft plant that was nearby for enemy air raids. And the best place for them to do it was on the Disney studio lot in Burbank, California.
Wow.
So inside all of these like movie studios and animation buildings and all that stuff, they were setting up like machine gun turrets. They had 500 United States Army troops inside the studios. And it was, so what had been the place that created Snow White and Dumbo became a military outpost almost overnight. And soon after the start of that occupation, Walt Disney was approached. By the way, it was the only studio that was taken over. Like there are multiple studios in Hollywood.
Like Warner Brothers.
Yeah, they did So Walt Disney was then approached by, first it was the U.S. Services to produce propaganda films. They signed an initial contract that required Disney to produce 20 war-related animated shorts for the United States government to use as anti-Nazi propaganda. Once they started, every branch of military service asked them to make animated propaganda reels for them as well. If you go and Google Disney World War II propaganda films, they give you probably 150 of them.
Yeah.
Disney Animation had made all of the stuff when they're training people to fly planes or to fix bombs or to, drive a Jeep or do anything. Disney made the how-to video for it with their animations. And then they also made these other propaganda films, and they got paid a fucking bag from the U.S. government.
I think those propaganda films were on Netflix for a little bit.
Yeah.
You got the crow that does like the air raids or something like that. I just remember
1942's Donald Gets Drafted.
Those are like Disney propaganda films.
1942's Donald Gets Drafted starred Donald Duck, who gets conscripted into United States Army.
Sounds like a joke.
Yeah. The film gave the American public a look into the life of a U.S. soldier for the first time. Donald Duck walking through what it was to go to like fucking boot
camp.
Do
the voice, Vibs. I know you.
Oh, I can't. I don't have a voice.
No, not Donald Duck.
Oh.
I thought you meant Donald Duck. No. I would have been so impressed.
I was excited I got him.
You're looking at the wrong guy.
No, not Donald Duck. The old timey videos that we're talking about. Because that YouTube channel, I was always so jealous. They had like proprietary stuff that was really good.
Yeah,
it was like a little bit of that 1940s baseball.
Yeah, what's Donald doing? I don't know. He's
like
signing up for the U.S. military.
Yeah, exactly.
He's doing his duty and saving tin and not using rubber.
Yeah.
So the good old boys in Poland can kill the Nazis.
Yeah. Exactly. Buy war bonds.
Exactly.
Buy some war bonds.
Exactly. Yeah.
So Donald Gets Drafted was followed up by 1944's Commando Duck, where Donald Duck destroyed an entire Japanese airbase single-handedly.
He's a hero. He's a goddamn hero.
This is the only film which depicts a regular Disney character engaging with the enemy at war. Donald Duck did a 1944 movie called Commando Duck, where he destroyed an entire Japanese airbase single-handedly. So I went and I watched it. And I was expecting Donald to go like full fucking apocalypse now. Grease paint, knife in his bill, go in there and, maybe like a smattering of rape. I don't know what was going on.
Yeah, but it's war. It's wartime.
Instead, it became one of these things where Donald had found out where this military installation was for the Japanese. So he had rode like an inflatable raft down a river and then somehow dammed the river with his raft. And then when the raft had...
Oh, he's a duck.
It's true. When the raft exploded, it then caused a gigantic flood, which wiped out all the Japanese. So there was no like, get the fuck out of here, Donald Duck, bitch. But it was one where he definitely killed drowned many Japanese people. Donald Duck.
Yeah, I'm watching it right now. Not as exciting as I
No, it's not, right? Yeah. And all of the payments from the government and the military for all of these films were significantly higher than Disney's standard profit for shorts, and they essentially kept the company afloat. So, this is my point. If it weren't for World War II, the Walt Disney Company might not exist today. And again, we'd all be fucking happier, right? Because we wouldn't have to waste all that money taking our kids.
I'm sorry. I think the Netflix one I saw was the Looney Tunes, like, propaganda.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So
similar like idea.
Same shit. Yeah. Back to companies with surprising origins, but we're going to stay with toys. There was a guy.
Pause real quick, sorry.
Sure.
This just clicked out on me. I still have it, but it's fine. I don't know why.
Start from the top.
Nah.
Hey, everybody, welcome on back.
Do it.
Yeah.
We had to do that for Podfathers once. I think I told you guys that story.
I remember that.
Comedy's always better the second time you hear the joke.
When you warm it up?
Yeah.
Clem's power went out, right?
Yeah.
Clem Dad.
I just remember hearing a lot of yelling. I was in the kitchen, which is like a couple door, like, the house is small, but it's got like turns. And I just remember I could hear Clem yelling through your headphones, through the office dining room into the kitchen.
Lost it.
In the mix here.
We lost it all.
No, I got it. I'm just pulling this up.
That was my Clem. Yeah, you scared the hell out of me there when you were like, Donald Duck.
I knew you were going to find it. I feel like we have the chemistry. And you were finding what I was looking for. Yeah, they have a great YouTube channel because they have old footage and really high quality of like those old things with the voice. And it's like, the Nazi threat,
Seems like he was talking one of those microphones that had like this steel thing around where you hold it by here.
Yeah.
Hey there, sportsman. Yeah. It's always like
William H. Macy who does that.
Yeah.
What's he do that in?
Macy's got the perfect voice for that.
He does it.
He does he?
What is it?
He does it in
With like,
he does it in Seabiscuit.
Seabiscuit.
Yeah. He does it like the clock, tick-tock, McGlack. Yeah, it's good. It's great.
You know what movie I would fuck with again? What was the movie with Viggo Mortensen and the horse?
Yep. I know what you're saying.
Hidalgo.
Hidalgo.
There was like
fucked with him.
There was like
that was a great movie.
Kind of like The Prestige and the other magician.
Oh my God, he loves that movie.
Hidalgo. Oh, Prestige.
Prestige
It's the best.
That's a great movie.
Top Nolan
Like
movie.
Christopher Nolan. Yeah.
By
the way, fuck. What was the other one that everyone loved? Inception.
Inception's good. Inception's good.
You didn't like that?
I did not like Inception. The only movie I liked less than Inception was Tenet.
I heard that was.
Yeah, Tenet was far more complex.
I heard that was just Nolan loving the smell of his own farts.
Yeah. I'm hearing bad things about the War of the Rohirrim, by the way. The new Lord of the Rings cartoon.
Oh, that.
I'm going to go.
I saw the trailer for it, and I was like, Yeah. I didn't like the Rings of Power. Granted, I was getting...
You're good, by the way.
Oh, we are? Okay.
I was going to keep that in there. I like the movie talk. But
Yeah. Back to companies with surprising origins. We're going to stay with toys. Harold Matson, M-A-T-S-O-N. So they called him Matt. And Elliot Handler. So Matt and Elliot. And I'm talking about a toy company. I just talked to you about the Hassenfeld Bros becoming Hasbro. So Matt and Elliot became Mattel. Started Mattel making picture frames in a Southern California garage. So Mattel started as a picture frame company. Instead of discarding the wood scraps from the frame making process, the two would use them to create dollhouses. They soon discovered, however, that the dollhouses were far more popular than their picture frames, and the company's focus shifted. Matson sold his half of the company to Handler, and a toy-making giant was born. That was a quick sentence I read.
Right.
Matson sold his half of the company when they were just making fucking dollhouses, and it became Mattel, which now has... It's the highest grossing toy company in the world, and it owns American Girl, something called Barbie, Barney, Bob the Builder, Fisher-Price, and Hot Wheels. And I think Matchbox. I think it has both of them. I think Matchbox and Hot Wheels both reside under the Mattel banner. So this poor bastard, Harold Matson, to me, he's like the fifth Beatle. Right? Like, yeah, like or that one guy from Apple or Microsoft.
Oh.
Who's the dude who was in the garage with like
the
Bill Gates?
guy?
Yeah, like one of the guys stepped away.
Steve Wozniak. Or no. You're talking about the guy that lost.
Other dude. Yeah. And like they bought his share of Apple for like $30,000. I think Matt Matson, I keep saying it like it's Matty Madison, Matty Matheson.
That's exactly. I was almost asked you.
The chef.
I thought you were going to say like American Idol, because there was Seacrest and some guy I think named Dunkelman hosting the first season.
Brian Dunkelman.
And Dunkelman was like, nah, I'm out. And now Seacrest has more money than God.
Yeah, Dunkelman's up in like Juneau blowing Eskimos for whale sandwiches or something, right?
He's a stand-up comedian that's like
is he?
traveling, and he's not bitter about it at all.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
You know who you didn't mention? You didn't mention Thomas and Friends, Uno, Masters of the Universe. You did say Matchbox, Monster High, Mega, and Polly Pockets.
Polly Pockets.
Huge.
Yeah, the biggest toy company in the world. It started as a picture frame maker. Avon. Everyone knows Avon? Mm-hmm. Right? They're like
makeup?
Yeah, they were door-to-door makeup people. I think like an Amway type thing.
So
you
soft
go there.
that was supposed to make your skin beautiful. Was like the best mosquito repellent they out on the market.
This was a stock. Do you remember the ticker?
AVN?
AVP, Avon Products. Because I thought you bought it. I thought it was one of your...
No, I bought Estee Lauder.
Estee Lauder.
AVP.
Estee Lauder, I swear.
Great shit.
Estee Lauder was like, I don't even want to get started on it, but that's a good
I didn't see it in our statement, but it also went private in 2019 when a Brazilian company called Natura & Company acquired 76% of Avon for $2 billion. But it traded as Avon Products, AVP, forever. It was founded, and again, in 1886 by a guy named David McConnell as a company that sold books door to door. But to lure in female customers, the weaker of the sexes, obviously,
can't read,
he offered little gifts like perfume. And before long, the perfume that McConnell was giving away had become more popular than the books he was selling. So he shifted his focus and founded something called the California Perfume Company. And as the California Perfume Company started to get some international recognition, he no longer wanted to just pigeonhole himself as a California company, so he changed the name to Avon after the town Stratford-upon-Avon in England, where McConnell had been once or twice, and he admired the countryside. So Mattel started making picture frames, became Mattel. Avon started selling books, giving away perfume, and became Avon, which is a gigantic company. And similar to Avon is Wrigley. Like, I think we take for granted the story of Wrigley. Right? Like Wrigley Field and Wrigley Gum, right? Like it's the same family.
Same people. Yeah.
Which is crazy. I don't know if people put a lot, people outside of Chicago put that together. But Wrigley is a multinational candy and chewing gum company based in Chicago that was bought by the Mars Corporation in 2008 for $23 billion. It's a lot of candy. And that combination, called the Mars Wrigley Confectionery, is the largest manufacturer and marketer of chewing gum in the whole world. But in 1891, again, 1800s, John, 29-year-old William Wrigley Jr. came to Chicago from Philly with $32 in his pocket and the idea to start business selling Wrigley Scouring Soap. They were a soap company. Much like the books and the perfume thing with Avon, Wrigley offered premiums as an incentive to buy his soap. Premiums as an incentive to buy his soap, such as baking powder. And the baking powder became more popular than the soap. So he got rid of his soap and started selling baking powder. And with each case of baking powder that he sold, you got like a pack of gum. And then the gum became more popular than the baking powder. So they got rid of the baking powder and just started making gum. Like they found what it was. And off of that gum, they made this empire. Just right?
Crazy pivots.
So much so that Wrigley became the majority owner of the Chicago Cubs in 1921. They sold the team to the Chicago Tribune in 81, but they still have naming rights to the field. So it became such an absolute behemoth, and I'm using that word a lot today, probably more than I use iconic, that they had Wrigley Field. They owned the Cubs. They basically owned all of Wrigleyville. They had another Wrigley Field that they owned out in L.A. for the farm team. Like there were 2 Wrigley Fields for a while. And the company was just absolutely huge. So it started with soap, and now they're part of a conglomerate that owns Altoids, Big League Chew, Bubble Tape, Hubba Bubba, Lifesavers, Skittles, Starburst, Juicy Fruit, Big Red, Extra, Orbit, and Eclipse. They own everything, and all of those things are rebranded under different names internationally. So I couldn't even read you off all the products that they have because it's just too much to read off. So Colgate is also an absolute monster of a company that started as a soap manufacturer. But Colgate kind of makes sense, you know what I mean? Yeah. Selling soap in 1806, 200, So they started selling soap back in 1806. And then around 1873, they decided to make toothpaste, which they sold in a jar. And there were other people who made toothpaste in a jar. You'd open up a jar of toothpaste, kind of put the thing in, but they were the first people to actually put it into a tube 3 years later in 1876. So from 1873, they sold it in a jar to 1876. They put toothpaste in a tube, and it took off. And Colgate never abandoned its soapy roots and merged with the largest soap company in the U.S., Palmolive, in 1953 to become Colgate Palmolive. Do you remember the ticker on that?
Which one?
Colgate Palmolive?
Oh, no.
It was CL. CL was Colgate. So I trade that. It had revenues of over $19 billion last year. Their biggest competitor is Procter & Gamble, particularly in toothpaste sales, because Procter & Gamble owns the Crest brand.
PG?
Creston, you got it, baby.
Is Progressive.
Yeah.
Avon, this year, Avon filed Chapter 11. Go back to Avon.
Oh, did they?
And they were the first company to introduce alpha hydroxy, which is huge now.
Right.
They introduced that, and that only
got to get in front of the microphone.
Oh, sorry. I thought it was on my nose. I'm like, what's on me? They introduced alpha hydroxy in 1990. And they just filed Chapter 11.
Did they have like a patent on it, and then once the patent runs out, everyone can it's?
I don't think they. I don't know if they. That's a good question. I'll have to look that up.
Or that's just a chemical.
Because they came out they repackaged as like a new brand called Anew or something, and I don't think it took off that well.
What's alpha hydroxy?
It's the stuff that makes you look younger. Like it's like that. Like all the serums. You see all these serums today that these girls go crazy for in Ulta or Sephora, and it all goes back to like alpha hydroxy. It like almost like peels dead skin.
Is it like adrenochrome?
I have I do not do any of those things. Honest to God, I just.
Well, that's good. Adrenochrome's what politicians are drinking blood from like. Children. It's in children's blood.
That's right.
Yeah, gotcha.
Allegedly, I think. I don't even know if it's a real thing.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to be like, it's a part of the placenta.
But I'm glad you're not doing it. I'm glad
I do not.
When they bought Palmolive, a huge soap company, as we know, you know how Palmolive got its name? Palmolive made its original soap by combining 2 oils, palm oil and olive oil.
Say something
so it became Palmolive.
That would have been my guess.
I kind of like that shit, right?
I feel like everything's just 2 words put together.
Yeah, that's it.
Right?
I mean, yeah, that
right?
Right?
Me and Bibbs have started a company called Varge. we've all
Dude,
heard.
that actually sounds
It's not bad, right? Yeah. We've all heard of LG.
You're like a car rental company, Varge?
Varge, yeah.
Varge.
Yeah.
Oh, you downloaded the Varge app?
Yeah. LG, you see them on monitors and stuff, right? LG for life and all that.
Yep.
LG semiconductors, computer monitors, and TV screens. The LG is a reference to the original name, which is Lucky Gold Star. So that's where LG came from. They were originally Lucky Gold Star, and they still manufacture their own brand of toothpaste.
Sounds like an album.
You can get LG toothpaste on top of getting all this other bullshit.
I always thought it stood for Life's Good, which I think is like their slogan
slogan.
now, but Lucky Gold Star. I didn't know that.
Lucky Gold Star. Almost sounds like a Jewish cowboy. Like Tonto Goldstein.
Yeah.
Isn't it
reach for the sky?
Isn't it crazy the way simple they used to make money? Like just like let's put the toothpaste back in the toothpaste.
Yeah, exactly.
Eat the mayo.
It's the gum, and now we're like packaging securities together.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Destroying stuff.
I know.
It's ridiculous.
That's the good old days.
Yeah.
Abercrombie & Fitch, I'll throw it in here again real quick. They make jeans that look good on young shirtless boys, but it started in 1892 as a real sporting goods store that outfitted hunters and explorers. More specifically, David T. Abercrombie outfitted a very wealthy lawyer and real estate developer named Ezra Finch. So Abercrombie's biggest customer was Finch. And Finch, who was an avid outdoorsman, eventually bought a significant stake in Abercrombie's business in 1900. So on top of hip-hugging jeans for muscular tweens, this place used to outfit Teddy Roosevelt before he went on safari. They provided the gear for Admiral Byrd's expedition to Antarctica, and the shotgun that Ernest Hemingway swallowed when he committed suicide in 1961 was purchased at Abercrombie & Fitch. So Abercrombie used to outfit Fitch. Fitch bought a chunk of it. After a while, Fitch said, we should go and start marketing more clothes and get away from the outdoor stuff. And Abercrombie said, okay, I'm out. So Fitch bought him out, and now Fitch has gotten or the Fitch family has made all the money from it.
That's what
got Abercrombie out of there, yeah. Michelin restaurants and Michelin tires, I think people know that it's the same. If you get a Michelin star, it changes your future as a restaurateur for the rest of your life. So Michelin started at the turn of the century in 1900 to put out this roadmap guide where it had certain restaurants that you could stop at. This is obviously way before Waze and whatnot. And so you had maps, instructions for changing tires, lists of restaurants, hotels, mechanics, and gas stations. And from that little guide, the restaurant thing is what took off. And now I think there are how many thousands of restaurants that get reviewed by them, but only 138 restaurants in the world have 3 Michelin stars. And that's the top of the food chain. I've been to Michelin star restaurants. I don't think I've ever been to a 3 Michelin star restaurant. I don't believe I've ever been to one. Maybe Alinea. There are a couple maybe in the United States. I don't think I've ever been to a 3 Michelin star restaurant.
I get
the idea that they probably suck.
Yeah, well,
it's like $1,000 steak. It's overrated.
I don't think the 3s would suck. The 3s are pretty like insane.
Yeah. Oh, you think?
There's a big jump even.
Right.
Like from 2 to 3.
But just getting that 1 star
3 is like you don't even know what you're gonna pay if you're rich.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a good movie that everyone jumped on last year.
What?
That with the restaurant and the guy what was it called?
What's the one in Brooklyn Fair? That's a 3. That's supposed to be pretty chill. That's supposed to be like pretty regular for a 3.
The horror movie?
The horror movie that I'm talking about.
Where they're like
Nicholas Hoult, right, is in it? And the girl with the big eyes, Anya Taylor-Smith, whatever the hell her name
that
is.
doesn't question.
What the fuck's the name of it?
Anya Taylor-Joy.
Yeah.
Smith.
And can you slide this out so it's just in front
Anya Taylor-Joy Smith.
Yeah, something like that. What the hell is it called?
Is that better?
Yeah. I can't hear you. That's the whole thing.
No, I don't.
There was a movie with her where they went to like an island to eat.
The Menu.
Oh, that was a great movie.
Oh.
It took me a while to
Yeah.
Who's the guy in that?
Ralph Fiennes.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Ralph
Fiennes.
Lord Voldemort, and then Nicholas
Ray
Hoult.
Fiennes.
It's Rafe Fiennes.
Ray Fiennes? Ralph Fiennes?
Ralph Fiennes.
Ralphie Fiennes?
Ralph Fiennes.
It's spelt Ralph, but it's pronounced R-A-F-E.
Just
Ray Fiennes.
Just
Fiennes.
Okay.
Just say Lord Voldemort.
Yeah.
That's what I say.
The hell was he just in? Oh, Conclave.
Conclave, that was great too.
I put that on for 15 minutes. I fell asleep immediately.
Really?
I loved it.
I loved it.
I just couldn't get it.
I saw it in the movies.
So you got to come to the theater with us, where you have the whole dining experience.
I just can't get into church stuff. Too.
No?
Like,
Man,
movies.
you got to check
But
out
there really
Two
wasn't
Popes.
much church stuff in
I
it.
still haven't checked out
As much
It's
Two
good. Poke
Wait, are
ones
we
are
talking
hot.
about the same movie? Isn't it like start off with him walking in with the thing on his head, right?
It was more about the process than like.
It was about the process of picking a new pope.
Jesus.
And hilarity
That's so
ensues.
boring.
Yeah,
I thought it was great.
You're asking people to see Zone of Interest.
I know.
Right,
Zone of
exactly. Yeah.
So
See how the
boring.
Nazis lived.
This is why we didn't start the movie club.
In 1927, a guy named J. Willard Marriott, J.W. Marriott, and his wife opened up the first A&W root beer franchise in Washington, D.C. It was a 9-stool root beer stand that grew into Hot Shop's restaurant chain. He was selling a ton of root beer and root beer floats during the summer. Wound up they weren't selling anything in the winter because people don't typically go out for a nice ice cold soda. So they started serving hot food. That hot food turned into a restaurant called Hot Shops. That turned into the Hot Shops restaurant chain. And that evolved into today's $25 billion Marriott International Hotel Company.
I love that.
So it started as a root beer thing. Glenn Bell was an entrepreneur who opened his first hot dog stand called Bell's Drive-In in San Bernardino, California in 1948. Glenn Bell. His stand did well, but he watched even longer lines of customers at a Mexican restaurant across the street, which became famous for its hard-shell tacos, right? So this is 1948. So Bell attempted to reverse engineer the recipe of that taco, and eventually the owners let him come in and see how the tacos were made. He took what he learned and opened a new stand in 1951. The name underwent several changes from Tacotia, El Taco, before settling on his last name and Taco Bell. And now they sell over $2 billion worth of absolutely terrible food every fucking year. I thought Taco Bell had something to do with ringing the dinner bell.
Same.
And it's Glenn Bell.
I'll never look at that bell the same.
Right.
Yeah.
You're
I think I would have the Harvey cutlet.
The Harvey cutlet, yeah, why not?
Like I love chicken cutlets are the best, right? What would yours be?
What would yours, if you had to open up a restaurant that served one thing? Like variations of
maybe a burrito. I know we just talked about tacos. I love burritos. I could eat a burrito every day.
Burrito.
A Viborito.
A Viborito. Oh, that's a good one.
Vibes, something.
The vibin' burrito.
Yeah, tacos would be easy. I mean, I could do like, I don't think I could do pizzas, but I could do like naan pizzas.
The Kelly naan.
Naan.
As in like naan, the bread?
The Indian flatbread.
I'm just buy naan and I pour sauce on it and cheese and it's pizza.
Would it be traditional sauces or would you do like a butter chicken sauce, like something like that?
Like a marinara. I've never thought about
keep
that.
It?
I like turning an English muffin into a pizza every once in a while.
I do too. Do you toast the English muffin first?
Well,
Yes.
wait a minute.
Don't.
Wait a minute.
I totally do.
Wait a minute. Let's take a step back. Pizza bagel?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I've had some good ones.
They're good.
There's actually a great one around the corner.
Really?
Yeah, Black Seed Bagel does an awesome pepperoni pizza bagel. I
love that. Really?
We're stopping on the way.
You got to get it on poppy seed.
Okay.
I'm doing it.
I'm not poppy averse. That's my
They
favorite
give you
bagel.
two. So one order gives you two little guys.
We did
Love that.
it's hitting
it's like a road circle.
today you got to try this, but there's a place on 7th Street between Avenue A and 1st Avenue, so down in the East Village, and it's called Molly O's.
Ooh.
Molly O's also is a bar that's on, I believe, maybe 1st Avenue or Avenue A.
It's right on the corner, right?
And I think she used to like cook for the people in the bar, and they loved it so much. She got a tiny brick and mortar place on 7th Street. It's called Molly O's.
So good.
They serve one thing, soda bread scones. And they just serve them right out of the oven. You can't get them cold. Right out of the oven with an inordinate amount of Irish butter, Kerrygold, and their homemade blueberry jam. And they just give them to you like that. I bring my own tea. We've gone there 2 weekends in a row. We pay way too much money, and we stand on way too big of a fucking line. And I'm a scone guy.
Oh, my God.
Have been since day I died. I've never been like a huge soda bread guy because I was never a raisin
But if
dude.
you were.
I fucking kill these, right?
It was so good. I'm trying to see if I have a picture of it. I'm sure you took.
I just had homemade scones for like the first time with lemon curd.
Oh, lemon curd's fucking solid. Oh, yeah. John is so international.
Right?
I had that
Go to Istanbul once.
That was a family friend. Yeah, very.
So Glenn Bell was the reason behind Taco Bell. He had a hot dog stand and got jealous of the hard taco guy, reverse engineered it, did what he can. And that's basically the definition of innovation for me. In 1969, The Gap was founded in San Francisco as a record store. And that record store also sold jeans.
You know what kind of jeans?
And luckily they pivoted. What type?
They sold Levi's.
They sold Levi's.
Yeah, maybe
Levi's
get that
were
Levi
the-
stock up.
Yeah.
We're in on it.
That's right.
Yeah, you both did
Down right now.
Okay.
Sold. I should have sold.
My new one is OCS.
What do they call it? Diamond hands. Diamond hands.
It'll be back. It'll be back. It'll be back.
Yeah. So the Gap used to sell records. They got rid of records, and now they just sell jeans and whatnot. Good pivot for them. Yamaha was founded by Turakusu Yamaha in 1887, 137 years ago, again, to manufacture pianos. And we see that a lot, like Yamaha pianos. They still make a ton of pianos. It was actually pianos and reed organs. So they made, good. Annie is very good on the piano.
But I'm great on the organ.
No, you suck on the organ.
I choose great.
Yeah. Roses on the piano, tulips on the organ. I can say that because we've been married 25. So they started 137 years ago manufacturing pianos and soon became the largest Japanese manufacturer of musical instruments in the early 20th century. During World War II, again, reoccurring theme, Yamaha was contracted to manufacture wooden and then later metal airplane propellers by the Japanese government. And after the war, in the early 1950s, Chairman Genichi Kawakami decided to repurpose its underutilized wartime facilities to manufacture small motorcycles for leisure use. And now Yamaha's motorcycle sales are the second largest in the world, and Yamaha is the world leader in water vehicle sales. Do you know who the largest manufacturer of motorcycles is?
Indian.
Honda?
Yeah.
Yeah. Indians, Indians a little more, it's tiny.
Native American. Sorry.
Yes.
Have you been enjoying Pat's videos?
I like them.
They're awesome.
Very
but
cool.
Have you ever seen the Yamaha logo?
The Ducati.
Yeah.
That's Yamaha's logo.
It's got
Looks
all
like the Punisher, right?
Wait, let me see.
So that's Yamaha's logo. I thought it was a Chinese star.
Oh, I thought it looked like the Punisher.
throwing star?
That's not Yamaha's
Ninja
logo.
Star?
That's Yamaha's logo. Oh, no, it is. And it's
three. A yogo.
Logo. Yamaha's. It's Yamaha's yogo.
Yamaha.
It's 3 tuning forks for piano.
Yeah.
Those are
That's awesome.
tuning forks, metal tuning forks. It's kind of cool. I'm dropping some truth bombs. Christ's sakes. Nokia makes rubber boots. Put a picture of them in there. Mitsubishi has its own brand of canned tuna. If you look at this 3 Diamonds brand canned tuna, it's got the Mitsubishi logo on it because they have that division. They actually just sold it in May of this year. But Mitsubishi makes tuna. Nokia makes rubber boots. Everyone has either owned a Bic pen or a Bic lighter, but very few have owned one of their surfboards. They also had a line of disposable underwear. Bic used to make disposable underwear. They marketed to be useful when it's inconvenient or impractical to wash underwear, perhaps when you're camping or at a whorehouse or something like that.
Or surfing.
Yeah, plus we've all been in situations where having a second pair of underwear would really be helpful. Remember when you brought them in for me and I wound up shitting myself?
Barstool thing.
Yeah, but that never took off. People didn't dig
breakfast.
the Bic underwear. I put in the picture of that too. Apple has the patent to the round pizza boxes they use in all of their cafeterias. Apple uses, pizza boxes, and it's all fancy pantsish.
Wait, what cafeteria? What are you talking about?
Apple?
Their HQ? They're like,
HQ has their own canteens and cafeterias.
We've never, consumers can't see that.
You can never see it. But they have a patent to it. If you do get in there, John, and you try to copy it for John's Nons, is it John's Nons?
John's Nons.
Yeah.
That's good shit.
Yeah, Nons by John?
Non
by John. And if you ever Google Volkswagen product 199 398 500B and also 199 398 500A. If you Google those two numbers, Volkswagen product 199 398 500B and 500A, you'll see that Volkswagen began making sausages and ketchup in 1973 at their Wolfsburg factory, where they were originally eaten by employees in their factory cafeterias. So the 500A is their currywurst, and the 500B is their curry ketchup. It was later sold in supermarkets, football stadiums, and to Volkswagen customers, branded as Volkswagen sausages too. I'd eat the shit out of that.
Yeah,
I would definitely do that. The sausages have been described as the most produced of any Volkswagen's parts, with some 7 million sausages made in 2019 alone. So in 2019, Volkswagen produced more sausages than they did cars.
Their images are hysterical.
Yeah, but because we can't have anything nice, in 2021, Volkswagen announced that they would stop making the sausage to reduce the emissions from meat production. And the CEO, some absolute twat named Herbert Diess, wants to rid Volkswagen of all factory-farmed meats by 2025. So vegetarian and vegan options have already begun making their way onto menus across factory cafeterias. Boo. So by the end of World War II, the Volkswagen plants in Germany contained 4 concentration camps. I'm just going to make sure you guys know that. Their factories had 4 concentration camps and 8 forced labor camps. And that was okay. But now they're going vegan. That's fucking crazy, right? Yeah. They don't want to cook meat. They had fucking ovens, right? It's crazy that's where some people fucking die on the wrong hill. And they don't always work out. Like the sausage thing worked out. They sold a bunch, but some of them don't work out at all. Richard Branson started a Coca-Cola company, and he called it Branson's Virgin Cola. Coca-Cola found out about it, obviously, went to every place that stocked Branson's Virgin Cola, and they underbid them. They gave them their Coke for, again, pennies on the dollar in order to push Richard Branson out of the business, and he never came back.
That's the blue magic that Denzel Washington did in American Gangster.
Yeah.
Undercuts the...
That was a great movie, too.
Great movie.
I watched part of it the other day. When he gets up out of the diner he was in.
That's my 20%.
That's an underrated movie.
Yeah. It's leaving Netflix soon. Go watch it.
Oh, really? Yeah. So, Richard Branson's Virgin Cola, no good ski. Microsoft Zune. People don't remember this, but Microsoft had a thing called Zune, and once it was like an MP3 player.
Yep.
But once the iTunes came out, iPod, it just blew it away. Trump had sold Trump steaks, remember that? But they only sold them in sharper images. And not a lot of people went sharper image. I used to go to sharper image all the time.
Yeah.
I love sharper image.
So I was almost, I was like, when I get money, I'm going to get the $12,000 Chewbacca for the house. You know what I'm saying? Like that was the top of the food chain.
You get like a moving chimpanzee head or something like that.
Real sharper image people moved on. Hamburger Schlummer.
Yeah. Or Sky Mall.
Oh, that's where I got my inversion table.
Hamburger Schlummer was awesome.
It was legit, yeah.
In the late, and this is one where Sony shit the bed. In the late 70s, early 80s, my time, people at home were able to record broadcast television for the first time to watch later, and 2 companies were vying to capture the market. One of them was JVC, which made what's essentially a VCR, a VHS, and the other was Sony with Betamax. I don't know if you guys...
Yeah.
Have you seen a Betamax? You've never seen it.
No.
You've seen VCRs.
They were huge, weren't they?
You know, So Betamaxes, that was the problem.
They were physically huge.
Yeah. JVC, so you were never able to tape anything at home before the 80s. And now all of a sudden this technology came in where it was fucking terrible, but you're able to watch tapes and even tape stuff. So JVC had made the VHS, Sony made the Betamax. JVC's product was lighter. It was like 25 pounds. Sony's Betamax was closer to 40 pounds. It was a fucking tank. JVC had a longer recording capacity and was cheaper. I had a kid that I went to college with. When we went, like somebody had like a Laserdisc player. That kid was rich.
Remember those?
Yeah.
A lot of people had VCRs. That was cool. We were still using cassette tapes. We were transferring to CDs at the time. So it was like a wonderful time to be alive. One kid in my dorm had a Betamax, and he just had it for porn. Psycho kid, Scotty's roommate. And all he had was a Betamax with just fucking porn.
Shit rules.
Yeah. I believe he used to save his own urine.
That's weird.
So,
that's weird.
But even though Sony Betamax was heavier and not as good, it still competed until JVC had gone to places that began renting VHS tapes or Betamax tapes for public consumption and said, we'll provide you with copies of E.T. and all this kind of stuff for, cheaper than Sony can do with Betamax. So that's why VCR tapes went into Blockbuster, Betamax didn't, and that was the end of Betamax, and it just kind of faded away. Do you remember when Guinness made Guinness Light? Nobody does.
No.
If you look up Guinness Light or you Google it, you'll only see light up Guinness signs. There is no fucking Guinness Light anymore, but they tried to compete with like the Miller Lights of the world, and and the Irish were calling it women's beer.
You know what's interesting? It immediately makes me think about it. It's really popular in Africa, but it's not your typical Guinness. It's like Guinness Stout.
Guinness has 11 types.
Right.
It has 11 types. Not all of them are sold everywhere.
Yeah. So the Guinness Stout is popular there, which is different than like the Guinness. I don't know. I could be wrong about the actual nomenclature.
They got a nitro coffee stout.
Yeah.
So Guinness has a full line, but they no longer have Guinness Light. They have like a lager. A Guinness lager and stuff.
Yeah.
But when they had marketed Guinness Light, it went over like a ham on Hanukkah. Yeah, Guinness Blonde or something like that.
And then they have, of course, the cans and the bottles, which are a little different.
Yeah. Well, what Guinness used to do, too, before they were able to put the CO2 cartridges... Are they CO2? Nitro. Before they were able to put the cartridges in the cans, they used to sell... Do you remember this?
The widget? The little widget in the can?
That's the nitro.
Oh, sorry.
They used to sell them with like these little hypodermic needles.
Oh, no.
So what you would do is you would pour your Guinness, then you put the needle in, you'd suck some Guinness in, then push it out, and that would create the head.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I swear to God, if you couldn't pour it from the tap, you would pour it and it would look flat, and it was like shh. And
I feel like I remember this. Did you have one?
Kind of fun.
I might have.
Crazy.
I feel like I remember this.
Crazy shit. Do you remember the Evian water bra?
No.
Evian had made a bra that was supposed to be filled with cool water, one, to keep women's body temperature a little bit more regulated, and also it had like up to 2 liters of water that you can keep on it and just kind of suck out of your own tit if you got like thirsty. And but it just wasn't marketed well, so people didn't buy them. But meanwhile, there are a lot of things, like they had said, cerebral palsy people tend to run hot. So if you would have marketed that to maybe women with cerebral
adaptable outfit, absolutely,
something
that
like
would make sense.
Like now, it probably could have worked, but back then it was just a fucking Evian.
Seeing you in the marketing meeting, like you got to market to cerebral palsy.
Yeah, they couldn't do it.
And they're like, what?
And then we talked about Colgate above, but when microwaves became popular, Colgate also introduced a line of frozen meals in the 80s that failed miserably because no one felt good about putting a Colgate beef lasagna into a fucking microwave.
Lasagna is just nasty.
But look how they marketed it. They marketed it with the same exact font that goes across their toothpaste.
Yeah.
You know, and so people just couldn't put those two things together. So Colgate beef lasagna was an absolute marketing nightmare. You can't win them all. In 1989, McDonald's tried its hand with the McPizza, which I had tried, and it was aiming for a slice of the $22 billion pizza market, right? But when it came to pizza, the chain known for fast food didn't deliver on that short order promise because customers had to wait like 11 minutes for the pizza, for a mediocre pizza to cook, waiting 11 minutes at a McDonald's for that shit, and it just didn't work out.
Not fast food.
No,
I don't think it's anywhere. Work. I don't think you can do McDonald's pizza, the McPizza in Italy. You know how McDonald's are better everywhere?
Right.
Did you go to one in Turkey?
I don't have a good. You're right though. The menus are different.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think off the top.
Zod just did one. He just
really
did a McDonald's review somewhere.
Yeah.
Where is he? Where
the
is
chips
Zod?
are different. The crackers are different. Everything's different.
All right, I got to start moving along. All right, just a little bit of random shit before we get out of
4
here.
minutes.
If you're visiting New York City this holiday, I want you to remember 2 things. People are going to say, go see the tree, go do this and all that. There's another part of New York that for Twisted History people, you might want to go to. And one of them, I had read, a lot of this I got from an Atlas Obscura just for this one, but the Bristol Basin. The Bristol Basin is on the east side of New York City. And the reason that it's a little bit different if you're visiting New York, there's a plaque there commemorating and whatnot. It's actually English land that was brought to the port of New York during some of the darkest days of World War II. So it's actually a small part of New York that is built on English soil. How did that happen? As German forces fought furiously to break the British resistance and conquer Europe, U.S. and Canadian merchant marine vessels steamed from New York across the Atlantic to keep the British defenders supplied against the Nazi Germany's assault. Munitions, all this kind of stuff we would send over there. But once we dropped our shit off, we brought our boats back, but we brought our boats back empty. And that just didn't work out. So they had to fill the boat with any kind of ballast for the return trip. So what they would do is they'd go into like war-torn England, they'd drop off all these guns, and then the people in England would fill up the boat with just rubble, just with anything that they could find from these destroyed cities to weigh down the ships for their way back across the Atlantic. And then once they got to Atlantic, they'd dump all of that English rubble in the fucking East River, fill it up with guns again, and go across the sea with it. So you're doing that hundreds of times with giant ships. This became a landfill that was exclusively English land. So there's a place called the Bristol Basin on the east side of Manhattan where you can have a little bit of England You're literally on England inside Manhattan. I think that's very interesting.
Cool.
I run on that every day.
25th Street and the West Side and the FDR Drive by Bellevue.
I'm going to run on it in a couple hours.
Yes. Yep. Did you know about it, though?
No idea.
Yeah, that's the Bristol Basin. So, I mean...
Now you'll have to sing.
I'm going to look for this plaque now, yeah.
I'm going to close...
Oh, please take a picture of yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah. I'm going to close on this. I have a couple other things I'm going to close on this. If you're in New York for the holidays, also try and notice that the New York City A roof. Do you know what that is? Anybody?
No.
Now you're going to notice it when you're running around. Hasidic Jews, they cannot do just about anything on their Sabbath day, on Saturday, right? Shabbat,
Yep.
I think it is.
And my barber has the day off.
I know what you were going to say with that.
Please, if you're Jewish and I'm mispronouncing stuff, don't come at me. I am trying my fucking best. But with like any other religion, we try to find kind of loopholes. Catholics can't eat meat on Fridays during Lent unless St. Patrick's Day falls on a Friday during Lent. Then the Pope grants dispensation just so my parents can eat corned beef. Like there's all these little things that we could do to try and escape that. You can't do anything on Shabbat that involves carrying or completing something. You can't even do like a puzzle in your house. You can't complete anything on that day, on the Lord's Day, outside of the house, right? Like you can do stuff inside the house, but carrying thing would even mean like if you had a child, you wouldn't be able to go outside your house with the child because typically you're outside of your thing. So you're doing something else, and that's no good for the religion. So how do you solve that? You make your house bigger, conceptually, and you do that with an eruv. An eruv is just a wire that is put up by Jewish people surrounding an area, and anything inside that wire is considered the house.
Oh, right. Like
New York City,
they put a curtain up around the yard.
Kind of, yes, exactly like that. Except it has to be 15 feet above in New York City. There's 200 eruvs, I think, in the United States. New York City's is the biggest. It's 18 miles long. There is a fucking fishing wire that goes around Manhattan, and it's 18 miles long, making Manhattan safe for Jewish people to push carriages, touch elevator buttons, do all that stuff. My dad's been stopped on Ocean Parkway by Hasidic Jews who weren't able to turn their heat on because it was the Sabbath. My dad went in, and there were just some freezing Jewish people because they aren't allowed to, there's timers on the Sabbath for elevators so they don't have to press the buttons. There are Sabbath elevators for Jewish people, particularly in hospitals, where it'll stop at every floor just on Saturdays so they don't have to interact or complete a circuit. Even flip a light switch outside their own house, they're not allowed to complete a circuit. So these eruvs are a way around it.
Loyal to a tradition. I
2017,
love that.
huge thing up by us in Mawa. They started to put up eruvs, and they were like, no, take them down. Like people, they don't want these things up in their neighborhoods. It's a very thin line. And Vibsy, if you look at ERUV, ERUV is how you spell eruv. New York has a website dedicated to it. It costs over $100,000 to maintain every year, right? It costs over $100,000 to maintain, and it's integral for these people to be able to live their lives on Saturdays. So if you look up, you'll be able to see it. Just check out the map. There's a full thing, and you can be able to point it out. Go to the American Girl store, go see the tree, go have a hot chocolate, a fucking serendipity, do whatever the hell you want. But also notice that there is a little bit of England here at the Bristol Basin on 25th Street, I think between maybe 25th and 29th Street.
There's a school there now.
And all the way through. And you'll watch how the eruv moves because it actually does one of these on the east side around the UN. Mm-hmm. It doesn't cover the UN.
Oh.
So Hasidic Jews technically can't be in the UN on a Saturday. It's fucking crazy.
No, they're not
right?
meeting on a Saturday. Those bastards.
It's crazy to see the little places, almost anti-Semitic to see some of the places where you're not allowed to do it.
Not Jewish people.
So just keep an eye on that if you're going to come to New York for some God-forsaken reason. And also, if you need any kind of restaurant recommendations, make sure you check out. You got to try this on all social platforms. All right, so that was Twisted History for December of 2024. We're going to go and do our end-of-year meeting right now here. Thanks so much for your continued support, and we'll see you guys on Twisted History in 2025.